The American Homebrewers Association has a special offer for new and renewing members. Join or renew by the end of September with offer code JOINIPA, all one word, and you'll receive a free copy of Mitch Steele's classic book, IPA. Go to homebrewersassociation.org and use offer code JOINIPA. Join IPA. Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, September 20th, 2018. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, Steve Wilkes of Steve's Brew Shop and I taste the latest hop sampler experiment. This time we compare Crystal, Glacier, and German Huell Melon, three tasty little beers. If you go to basicbrewing.com, you can find archives for audio and video shows, our DVDs, our brewer's logbooks, and other basic brewing gear, including our new tie-dye silicone pint. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Basic Brewing and find our show page on Facebook. We have a cool Basic Brewing app on iTunes and Amazon.com, and we're found all over the place where fine podcasts are served up. And if you do us the favor of rating us on iTunes and maybe leaving a nice comment, they say that'll help new listeners to find us. And if you want to support us financially, check out patreon.com/basicbrewing. Financial supporters will be able to see an early release this Friday of the Basic Brewing video episode on the beer that I brewed with Lithuanian farmhouse yeast sent to me by listener Frederick from Denmark. It's a well-traveled yeast, and it made a delicious beer. I'll also be posting a behind-the-scenes video for $5 Patreon subscribers, in which I spill grain while doughing in. Not enough to warrant a brewing disaster designation, but it was close. That was also the brew day that the wind knocked my tripod and camera off the table, and it went crashing down onto the concrete patio below. But luckily, the camera was not injured. These solid-state cameras are a little more robust than the old the ones with the tape mechanism inside. I've been posting pics of my Booberry beer, Monster Cereal beer, on Instagram and Twitter. The word started off very gray, like elephant gray, and after a couple of days, it turned green. So this is going to be a wacky beer, appropriate for the Halloween show next month. Also, as a personal brewing update, my wife Susan and I bottled the next hop sampler batch. In hop sampler number 5, we will compare Centennial, Citra, and Galaxy. And that should be a fun one, too. Big congratulations to longtime Basic Brewing Radio alum Casey Letellier and his partner Dorothy Hall on their opening Ivory Bill Brewing in Siloam Springs. It's been a long time coming, but they've been working hard, and they got the brewing system all set up, and they've brewed beers and sampled beers and sold beers, and it's working. I'm really excited. Susan and I dropped by on their grand opening this past weekend and sampled some tasty brews. And right now they have 3 beers on tap. They're calling them a regular, an extra, and dark. And I'll call them English ales, very clean and delicious and quaffable. And there's an IPA in the fermenter, according to posts on the social media stuff. Looking forward to seeing and tasting what Casey and Dorothy have for us in the future. And looking forward to having them on the show, I hope, when they have time to catch a breath. Let's talk about our sponsor, Poncho's Keg Cooler from Poncho's Brewing Lab. Poncho's Keg Cooler is a 20-gallon cylindrical insulated cooler that's designed to accommodate a 5-gallon corny keg. It fits in there. Poncho made these because he didn't like dealing with jockey boxes. I've used my Poncho's Keg Cooler to serve homebrew to family and friends a few times, and I love it. And I'm looking forward to the next get-together that we're planning. Think about how easy it would be to set up a keg cooler to tailgate. You know, it's tailgate season. Instead of dragging out a jockey box and hooking it up and cleaning it afterwards and all that. It doesn't take much ice to keep a keg cool with Poncho's Keg Cooler. I recently put a couple of bags in the cooler on a Monday, and on the following Wednesday there was still ice in there, keeping the keg cold. And that was in the 90-degree heat outside. Since the keg isn't sitting out in the weather like when you use a jockey box, your beer doesn't have to go through big temperature swings. And when you're not serving beer out of it, you can convert your Poncho's keg cooler into a 20-gallon mash tun. And I also saw a video on Poncho's Instagram of a keg cooler that had been made into a self-contained glass rinsing station, which is pretty cool. And right now, the deluxe Poncho's keg cooler comes with C.M. Becker's mini regulator and adapters to fit 16 grams, 74-gram paintball and regular CO2 tanks for the same price as the deluxe cooler used to be just by itself. And if you use the code BBR at ponchosbrewinglab.com, that's PANCHOS brewinglab.com, you can get 15% off any cooler. So head on over to ponchosbrewinglab.com and pick up your own Poncho's keg cooler. Let's take a look into the mailbag. Listener Neil writes, this summer I was doing some outside maintenance on my house and decided to install some rain gutter to protect the siding from splashing rainfall. I had not installed a downspout yet, and a forecast for a strong rainstorm got me thinking, why not capture some rainwater and use it for cooling my wort? I set up a plastic barrel with a pipe feeding into it from one 10-foot section of gutter, Neil says. From a relatively small section of my roof, I completely filled that barrel overnight. It calculated out to be around 35 gallons. Water temperature in the barrel was 68 degrees. I brewed up a batch, and using a small submersible pump connected to my immersion chiller and pre-chiller, I cooled the wort down to 76 degrees. I did use all the water in the barrel, but as it was coming out of the chiller, I saved it in some large plastic tubs and buckets, and once I was finished, I pumped that water right back into the rain barrel, ready for the next brew day. Neil says it was almost completely full again, so I must have spilled a little in the process. But I thought, this is great, and I'm not sure if anyone else is doing this, but for those homebrewers who live in water-challenged part of the country, this might be a workable option. Well, thanks, Neil. That does sound like a great idea. I have to admit that I don't save my water from chilling. Shame on me. But we're kind of spoiled here in Northwest Arkansas in that we have a steady, reliable water supply from big old Beaver Lake, among other sources around the region. However, this region is growing in population, so you can't take anything for granted. And for those living in areas of the world where water is scarce, solutions like Neil's would definitely come in handy. So I'm sure many of you are already doing similar things. Thanks for that note again, Neil. And our thoughts, of course, are going out to those out on the East Coast who went through the recent hurricane out there. Boy, there's no shortage of water for you guys, and I hope that all our listeners are doing well out there. Pretty scary stuff. Let's talk about happier things. Let's talk about our friends and sponsors, Desiree and Dave from High Gravity in Tulsa. Brewing season is upon us. The weather is showing hints of cooling down, at least around here, every now and then, and that means cranking up the brew system. Is that something you look forward to, or is your current system a pain to deal with? Well, high-gravity electric systems are not pro-pain, they are against it. In fact, high-gravity electric systems with Warthog controllers take the pain out of propane. I have a 240-volt, 10-gallon brew-in-a-bag system, but High Gravity also has 2- and 3-vessel systems from 5 gallons all the way up to 2 barrels. No more running to the store to change out costly propane tanks. Just plug in your Warthog controller and go. And let the system hit and hold your mash temps exactly with no worry. And dial in the strength of your boil to your preference. You will be spoiled, as I am. And you can do what I do and use your system to hold carboys or jugs of wort at a warm temperature that makes lactobacillus happy for predictable wort souring. And you can also use it to do sous vide food, too. So check out all the electric gear at family-owned and operated highgravitybrew.com and use the code EBC75BB to save $75 off your electric gear purchase at highgravitybrew.com. Okay, let's head over to Steve Wilkes' house. I'm so excited to sample Crystal, Glacier, and German Huell Melon. Steve Wilkes, welcome back to Basic Brewing Radio.
It's a pleasure to be back, James.
And we have to warn everybody that we're recording this following the mead yeast experiment.
That's right.
Disclaimer:
10% meads.
yeah.
So we'll either be really jolly or really sad.
We'll have 10% more giggling in this episode than the previous. Boy, so this is the fourth version of the hop sampler. Can you believe it?
I can't. It's a great little exercise in exploring the world of hops.
It's about all the exercise I get nowadays.
Well, you got your Fitbit on.
That's right. Yeah. And I discovered if I wave my arm around, it counts as steps.
Yeah.
So
well, you passed 10,000 steps today by drinking mead.
Just gesturing wildly.
Yeah, I love it.
I walked a mile in my own shoes. For
a camel.
So people like this experiment, and somebody emailed me the other day with his transcription of this recipe, and he said, "I want to make sure I got this right." And yep, you got that. That's it. You got it right. So somebody out there, and I forgot to write down who it was, is going to be doing some hop sampling at home. And it's super easy to do, and I really actually like the beers that we get out of it.
I do too. I think so this is our fourth one. So is that 12 beers? Right? 12 times 3?
Yes.
Or 3 times 4. And we've had one beer that actually, as I recall, I didn't care that much for. I'm not going to say which one it was.
Yeah, because you can't remember.
No, I can, but I'm just not going to say it.
Why not?
Well, it's the 072, because I sell those hops.
Oh.
No, the 07270.
The experimental.
Yeah.
Whatever that was.
Yeah, it was just, I didn't care for that. But doesn't mean it's not a good hop in the right use, but for what we did, I didn't like it. Otherwise, they've all been good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, here we are.
Now, I have changed the strategy a bit. Here's the recipe. Okay. You get your 3 quarts of water, or 3 liters of water approximately, and you warm that up a little bit on the stove, and then you add 1 pound or 450 grams of Pilsen light extract, and you mix that in. And then just as that's bringing up to the boil, and I have a little digital thermometer, and I find that whenever it hits like 208 or 209, it starts to bubble and it starts to boil. And right at that point, when it is brought up to the boil, I shut off the heat, and then I add the hops, and then I cover it, and I let it sit for 30 minutes to do a hop stand. After that, I chill it in an ice bath pretty quickly because it's a small amount of wort. And then I transfer to a 1 gallon jug, and I pitch in 3 grams of Saf Ale USO5. The original gravity, and it's been a while since I've actually taken a gravity. The original gravity is around 1060, and the finishing gravity is around 1010, so it's around 6% alcohol for these. Now, usually on these experiments, I add in half an ounce or 14 grams of each hop. This time, since these are moderate gravity or moderate alpha acid hops, like we have Crystal, which is 3.6% alpha acid, Glacier, which is 4.9% alpha acid, and German Huell Melon, which is 5.6% alpha acid, I decided to put a whole ounce of each of those into the wort to do the hop stand, because those beers that I've added that have the higher alpha acid, like 16% or whatever, I've only added half an ounce of those, and they have been a lot more strong tasting than the moderate gravity beers that I've only added half an ounce. So I wanted to boost it up. So what I did was I added 1 ounce of Crystal, 1 ounce of Glacier, and 1 ounce of German Huell Melon, or 28 grams. So it'd be interesting to see how these compare. Mm-hmm. Whether they're overhopped, do we think, or whether this is the strategy that we want to take. I don't think that I would have added a whole ounce of like a 15 or 16% alpha acid hop. That would have blown our ears off, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So overall, what do you think of the new recipe formulation with this level of alpha acid?
I think that they're nicely hopped. They are not overly aggressive. There's a good amount of backbone to all three of them. And they're not overly bitter. So the hop stand technique works well with this. I think it's fine.
Yeah, it's not too much.
No, and it's not too little either. It's not like they're under hop. They're about right. I mean, it's about what I would expect. It tastes like a beer. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, that's a beer. So it's
like a normal beer, normal hoppy beer.
Yeah,
they all three smell great.
They really do. I'm pleasantly surprised isn't the right word, because I know these are all good hops to use, but yeah, they're really nice.
Okay, so I actually did manage to, with the help of my son Drew, who helped bottle this experiment. We actually do have a blind tasting in front of us.
Yep.
Because the bottles were the same, and I managed to get the duct tape on the lids. And we mixed them around, and you picked 1, 2, and 3 randomly. So we have the lids with duct tape on the top, so that we can reveal eventually which is which. So
I put the bottle caps in a Funkin' Wagnalls mayonnaise jar, sealed them
on Funkin' Wagnalls' porch.
Yeah, it's Funkin' Wagnalls' porch. That's right.
The answer is coochie coochie.
Coochie coochie.
What do you get when you ask for more coochie? I don't know what that means. Okay, that's a Charo joke. Okay, thank you, Mead, from the previous episode.
Yes.
All right, now we've been tasting a little bit before the mic is turned on. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take another sip of number 1, Roman numeral 1, as you've put in my glass.
Yes.
And while I'm doing that, what do you think of beer number 1?
I think that it has a very nice beer-like taste. In other words, I don't get any big citrus bomb out of it. It doesn't go to the big pine flavors that we're used to. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have anything in it that is, well, remarkable. It just tastes like a beer with a good bittering level to me.
I'm getting some, almost like and this is the same recipe that we've had for now the 4th time. I'm getting a more of a sweetness from this beer than we usually get, and I'm thinking that that's coming from the hops. I'm thinking that there's like a little candy, sweetness.
Yeah, I could be convinced of that. It's a nice soft hop character.
Mm-hmm. It's got a good, nice fresh hop aroma. Mm-hmm. And I brewed this about a month ago, and then bottled a week after that. But yeah, it's just a nice. It's not piney. Mm-mm. It's not pineapple-y. It's not grapefruity.
Right.
To me. But there is kind of a candy-like.
Yeah, I get with that. It's just kind of old school. It just reminds me of. I don't know. I don't want to. It reminds me of. This is a bad thing to say. It reminds me of Budweiser.
Huh.
I mean, in that it doesn't overwhelm me in any way. We're so used to now these big craft beers that are just outrageous, you might say, in the level of pine or the level of grapefruit or the level of orange or whatever. This doesn't go there, but yet it's kind of just right. It's like the Mama Bear, the Mama Burger.
It's got a ton more hop flavor or hop aroma though than a Budweiser.
Oh yeah. I don't want to mean. I was just trying to find a neutral beer that everybody could relate to.
But what is that aroma though? I mean, it's not, like I say, it's not. It is hops. I can smell it as hops. But what is it? It's not, to me. It's not like piney or resinous or grapefruit but there is a fresh hop smell.
If I had to pick a flavor to associate with a beer at the moment, I would pick melon, which might be a little. Could be foreshadowing, and I could be dead wrong. Mm-hmm. But I do get kind of a soft, ripe fruit character from the beer.
I agree. Maybe it's Yeah, maybe instead of candy, which is too sweet, maybe I'm thinking of like a fruit flavored candy. Maybe that's what's tickling those neurons in my brain.
I almost get a little banana. And I am glad to see it.
So at this point in the show, between the beers, we take a break and we talk about one of the. So randomly pick a one of the hops that we're talking about here, and we're not necessarily saying that we think that this is that hop, but we're just taking a break. We'll sample a beer. We'll talk about a hop. We'll sample a beer. Talk about a hop.
Okay, so in no order, we're going to talk about crystal hops.
Around here, they'd say crystal.
Crystal. Or Crystal Gale hops. She'll make your brown eyes blue. At any rate, crystal hops were bred in 1983 by the USDA. It's a triploid aroma type cultivar based on or from the Hallertauer Mittelfrüh, Cascade, and Brewer's Gold.
Huh.
And also Early Green, which I've never heard of before. Mm-mm. So I've heard of early Mr. Green Jeans, but you get a lot of ping pong balls involved there. It's primarily grown in Oregon and has become increasingly popular among craft brewers due to its versatility and a variety of beer styles. By the way, this information comes from Yakima Chief, and it says that the specific aroma descriptors include a word that didn't print. Woody and green tea.
Huh. Okay.
So that's crystal.
Yeah.
And we don't know which one of these is crystal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. There you go. Beer Roman numeral number 2.
Now I think this has more bouquet. I'm getting a bigger bouquet. Instead of the $5 bouquet, I'm getting the $10 bouquet.
Ooh, this is brighter to me. This has more of a lemony character. It's not overly citrus like grapefruit, but to me it's lemon. And
I think it's also just slightly more vegetal. I get just a little bit more of a vegetal, like a green bell peppery, very slightly though.
Yeah, it's a little grassier than the first one.
Yeah, grassy, that's a better word, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But not unpleasant.
No.
I think it's good.
Yeah, I like it. I like it quite well. I'm going to do a comparison here with number 1. Number 1 is softer and sweeter.
Number 1's less bitter than number 2.
Yes, you're right. It is. In fact, quite a bit less bitter.
Mm-hmm. So remember, the Crystal had 3.6% alpha acid, the Glacier had 4.9, and the German Huell Melon had 5.6. 5.6. channeled a little curse in there.
This beer is just, it's got a little bit more of a bittering back note to it. It's very pleasant. Very easy drinking American pale ale.
This trends from lemon to lime. It's almost like a key lime flavor to me.
Yeah. I'll go there. I go anywhere.
As long as there's beer.
Yeah.
No, I like that quite a bit.
Huh.
I think I like it better than one. One is not a shabby beer at all. I like it. Number 2, I think, has a little more. It's a little more bite. It's that. It's that lemon to key lime kind of citrusy. No grapefruit, in my opinion.
Nope. And there is just a little bit more going on in the beer than number 1. So.
All right.
Okay.
Is it time for random hop number 2?
Random hop number 2.
Random hop number 2.
This is the Huell Melon.
Brought to you by the Huell Melon Foundation.
That's right. It's bred at the Hop Research Institute in Huell. This hop variety has bold flavors and is not necessarily associated with tropical or typical hop variety aromas. Distinguishing characteristics include honeydew melon and strawberry flavors. Typical alpha acid is 6.9 to 7.5. The specific aroma descriptors include honeydew, melon, and strawberry.
Huh. Okay. Hence the name.
Hence the name.
You know, Huell is the sound that I make when I try to get out of my car now.
Huell. Yeah, that's when you get the truss.
Help Dad out of the car, boys.
That's right.
Huh. Well, there you go.
So now I'm wanting to say, well, have we had the Huell melon? We don't know yet.
I haven't picked up melon characteristics in these first two. But
I could have been convinced that number one was slightly melony.
well, I've got a brand new pair of roller skates.
I got a brand new key. Oh Lord. I could almost say that the number one, but it's the lowest alpha acid, and or I should say it's the least bitter, and the Huell melon has the most alpha acid. So,
okay.
And number two we know is stronger. And
I'm going into number 3.
okay.
Number 3 has the strongest hop aroma of all three, and it's more of the aroma is it trends toward piney, in my opinion.
Yes, it does, and I think it's the best rounded of the three. In other words, I think it has the most going on. I really like it's a more complex beer, and the flavors don't none of the flavors just spike out at you. In other words, you don't get a giant this or a giant that. It's a very nicely rounded beer and a great smash beer.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is the Huell melon, because even though it smells piney, and I've been leading you. You haven't gone first as far as what you're tasting, but what are you tasting in that one?
Well, sir, I actually get strawberry, so I'm gonna go with you on that. I'm gonna go out on a limb too and say that number 3 is the Huell melon, because I actually do get quite a pronounced strawberry characteristic after I've swallowed the beer. So I'm done, but now I've got that little bit of aftertaste, and it definitely goes to a strawberry, that soft berry flavor.
I could be convinced of cantaloupe and melon.
Yeah.
And maybe strawberry as well. It's funny because it smells piney to me, but then the flavor is more of a fruit.
I don't get any pine out of it at all. And of the three, it's my favorite.
Yeah. Where would you rate it on the bitterness scale between the three?
I'd put in bitterness in terms of low to high. I'd put 1, 3, 2. So 2 is the most bitter, 1 is the least bitter, and 3 is in the middle. So according to the alpha acid, number 2 should be the Huell melon.
Right.
So we don't know, but I definitely get a nice strong hint of strawberry out of number 3.
I agree that number 2 is the most bitter to me. Number 3 is second, and then number 1, dragging up the rear as far as bitterness is concerned. Yeah, number 3 is my favorite. It's more complex. The hop aroma jumps out more to me, and I think it's fun that it smells different than it tastes.
And you know what? There's also a little bit of a savory note as well.
Well, I put my cigarette out in your bottle.
Okay. You're smoking those larks again, are you?
Vantage. Benson and Hedges. That's why it's broken.
That's right. Well, you come a long way, baby. At any rate, there's a little bit of a little bit of thyme, or not rosemary, because that's wrong, but there's a little bit of a kind of a savory herbal note to it that is underlying, and that makes it more complex. It's very, very slight, but it is the most complex flavor profile of the 3 beers. Interesting.
I agree. I could be talked into the savory stuff.
Yeah.
It didn't hit me, but okay. Random hop number 3.
Number 3. We've got a Foley audience out here, or artist. Released in 2000 by Washington State University.
Oh, woohoo! Go Huskies!
Yeah.
Go Dogs!
Yeah. Glacier is an offspring of French Elisar. I can almost read this. Have you got a baboon in your pocket? I can't get this in focus. Brewer's Gold and Northern Brewer. It was selected for its yield potential and low cohumulin, providing smoothness and balanced bitterness in beer. Specific aroma descriptors include plum, blackberry, and wood.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I have a thought about that.
All right, you're thinking about wood.
Well, I think number 2 might be Glacier.
Huh.
Because it definitely had a woodiness. There was a definite woodiness to it. So as soon as I read that, I went, that's number 2.
Huh. Okay.
So
yeah, I could
just a guess.
I could be talked into that as well. Yeah, because maybe there's a little bit of along with the bitterness, there's maybe a little bit of astringency or tannin kind of character.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you've made up my mind.
All right, are we ready to pick?
Yeah, you go first.
Oh, Lord. I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with Glacier as number 2. I'm going to go with Huell Melon as number 3. And I'm going to go with Crystal as number 1.
That's the way I'm going to go. And that's the way it's interesting that's the way they're listed on my brewer's logbook, which is available at basicbrewingshop.com. But it's not in the order I guess
the alpha acids.
Well, I guess it is in the order. No. Yeah, it is in the order of the alpha acids, although we thought number 2 was most bitter.
Yeah, so according to just the alpha, if all we were doing was comparing the alpha acids, number 2 should be the Huell Melon.
Yeah,
and which it will be, but
it ain't got the fruit characteristics, the strawberry, the melon, all that stuff.
It ain't got that thing because it don't know how to swing. Okay, are you ready?
All right, you're peeling off the tape on number 1 is
Glacier.
Oh. Boom, 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 boom.
So we missed. What did we say? Crystal.
Yeah, we said that was going to be Crystal.
I'm sure we're wrong.
We got to be right. I'm really confident on number 3. If number 3 is not Huell Melon,
number 2 is Huell Melon.
Oh, for crying out loud!
We didn't get any of them right.
Jeez Louise!
None of them. Well, but what does this show us?
Well, we liked Crystal the best.
Yep,
Crystal's
our favorite.
We're all washed up, but Crystal was our favorite. And how is Crystal described? From the thingy? Dig through your notes. Okay. Where's that paper? It's like a Jerry Lewis sketch over here.
I know. I feel like I'm...
Crystal. What is?
Read this again. So the aroma descriptors include woody and green. I don't get that.
No.
These are... My palate doesn't jive with what I'm told it should taste like.
Now, Crystal number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I smell it now, and it's more it's piney. It's the piniest of the 3 smelling, but the flavor I get is not pine.
The flavor I get, I still stand by my strawberry comment. I get that kind of luscious, ripe berry flavor.
It's very juicy.
Yeah.
The hop character is very juicy. It's not piney. The hop character is not like a spruce beer or something like that. It's not piney. Mm-hmm. It's very juicy. It's still my favorite.
It's still my favorite too. But I have to. The caveat is all of them are good. None of them are bad. Like I don't like that one as opposed to this one, but I really like what Crystal brought to the party. Because it's Crystal.
So even if we were to go by bitterness, number 3, the Crystal, has the least alpha acid, and we put it in the middle of these 3. Mm-hmm. The Huell Melon is the most bitter,
and it should have been the most bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we picked it as the most bitter, So by that alone, we should have said that that was the Huell Melon, but I was expecting more fruit.
Yeah, I was going on the flavor profile as opposed to the bitterness because it was almost too easy. It's like, well, okay, that's got to be the Huell Melon, but I didn't pick up the flavor characteristics that I was expecting.
Yeah. And then number one was the Glacier.
Mm-hmm.
And what were the flavor characteristics of the Glacier again? What were we supposed? What are you supposed to be tasting?
We're supposed to be tasting plum, blackberry, and wood.
Yeah, I could be talked into blackberry.
Hang on.
It's been a while since I tasted the first one, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
Well, what did I say in the beginning? I said it was sweet or like candy or like a fruit.
Yep.
So yeah, I could be talked into blackberry.
Me too. The nice thing about all three of these is that they're all good beers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'd served any one of them in isolation, you'd be like, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So
our takeaway is that we liked the Crystal
Crystal was our favorite.
the best.
And
What's your second favorite?
boy, toss up, but I'm going to go with Glacier. I really like number one. I like that kind of soft roundness of it, and now that I poured a little hit of it, and it has opened up some. It's warm now, and I'm picking up more of those berry flavors. So maybe it's just my mental conditioning, but it does seem to have opened up more.
I do like the fruity characteristics of the Glacier, but I do like the bite from this second beer from the Huell Melon.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's a little better balanced. The number one beer just wasn't bitter enough for me.
I completely agree with that. So if you're going to make a smash beer with basically this recipe, number two would actually be a very good choice because it does have enough bitterness to hold up against the malt, and it still provides you with a really nice hop flavor, hop characteristic.
Mm-hmm. But and you can adjust, you can look at your bitterness calculator and you can adjust that.
Absolutely.
Hop amounts, but boy, I was really looking. I was, maybe it's just the name, Huell Melon, but I was really hoping that that was going to be the big juicy fruity melony hop. I was really shooting for that one.
Mm-hmm, me too, and kind of it was the least of the three in that for that particular descriptor.
Yeah.
So, go figure.
Huh. Your mileage may vary.
Yeah, for sure, because this is a very controlled experiment that's aimed at isolating particular flavors, but in a real-world situation where you might have 2 or 3 or 4 different kinds of hops, the variables become exponentially more complicated, and you should not choose your hop based on this particular experiment.
You should do your own experiment.
Exactly.
And make your own, because if you were sitting across the table from us, you might have a different opinion altogether.
That's the fun of this,
Yeah.
It's actually the fun of homebrewing. That, as long as you do a few things right, sanitation, a reasonable recipe.
Get your healthy yeast and plenty of it.
Yeah,
say a couple 100 billion
Yeah.
per packet. Find a manufacturer that has that.
Yeah, if you could find some kind of a Roman imperial sort of thing, you might
some sort of majestic
yeast
of some
purple packaging,
or gold,
or
red.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is fun.
It was fun.
All right, it's time for me to come back to the shop and for us to look at your hop fridge and see what's next. And I do have an email somewhere of someone who suggested a round of hops. So I'll have to find that, and maybe we'll start taking listener suggestions.
I think that's a great idea. I'd also like to put in the pipeline that we do some noble hop comparisons.
Yeah.
I'd love to do a Hallertauer Tetning Sots comparison, maybe something like that.
Didn't we do that last time?
Did we do that already? I've lost. Don't tell me we did it already.
I'm looking back in my logbook.
Okay, well then let me.
Hop Sampler 3 was Fuggle, Hallertauer, and Perle.
Yeah, I know, but see, that's different because Fuggle is from Great Britain.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is some German, some continental hops, and then maybe doing like East Kent Golding and Challenger and Target.
Okay, nice save.
See what I mean? That's where I was really headed. Okay.
Woo.
I'll tell you what would be really fun to do would be to have somebody brew one with the exact same hop all 3 times.
and then just have us go on and on about the
right.
differences between the 3.
See,
that's something the Brewlosophy guys would do.
Yeah.
They would, because they do their triangle tests and they do, like, we mash this one in the freezer and this one in the on boil and the thing, and they all taste the same. Okay.
Yeah. Well, see,
they're deconstructing home brewing. Nothing, all the rules are out the window, which is great.
That's right. Well, see, this is very similar to when I sold ladies' shoes at JCPenney's.
Which works into your other hobby that we want to talk about.
Because I was working the Christmas rush in the late 70s, and this woman came in and she wanted this pair of shoes, but they didn't fit her feet. So she told me to go back and find the same pair of shoes for her, but I couldn't find the same pair of shoes. So I just kept bringing her out the exact same pair of shoes, and by about the 4th time, she's decided they fit, and she bought them.
They'll right up with wear.
That's right. Oh, my Lord.
Oh, God. All right.
Okay.
Thank goodness this is the last show of the day.
Yes.
I think we need to get some milk. Maybe some cookies.
Some hot peppers.
Oh, yeah. You got fermented hot peppers.
I did.
That's a future video show.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, James.
Well, thanks again to Steve of stevesbrewshop.com. Hope you're enjoying these hop samplers as much as we are. I need to make a spreadsheet or something to keep track of what we taste in these. After tasting so many, I forget what was what. That's another project for the list. If you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to James at basicbrewing.com and just fill out the contact form at basicbrewing.com. And please don't forget to tell us where you're from. Thanks to everybody supporting us through our Patreon page. Special goodies coming your way. Check that out at patreon.com/basicbrewing. Be sure to check out our DVDs, Extract Brewing and Partial Mashing, Stepping into All Grain, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, and Introduction to Wine Kits. You can find them all on our site. Get a free Basic Brewing bottle opener with any DVD combo, and you can check out our Basic Brewing shirts in the store, too. You can find our logbooks where you can track and log up to 50 batches of beer. Check all those out at basicbrewingshop.com. Also, take a look at our silicone pints. That's all until next time. Until then, thanks for listening. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by Kelly Dodson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. So long.